What would you do if one day you found yourself unable to take care of your own needs? Would the first option that comes to mind be rushing into a nursing home, or would you seek out a different, perhaps more unconventional path? Aging is a natural part of life, but how we face it doesn't have to follow a set script. For many, the idea of a nursing home is the first solution that pops up when independence starts to fade, but is it truly the best option? The reality is, it's not always the most fitting or the only choice. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into 6 incredible stories of older individuals who chose to carve out their own unique paths and discovered new ways to live life on their own terms. With a dash of creativity, a supportive network, and a willingness to embrace change, maintaining independence, purpose, and joy is not just possible, but empowering at any stage of life. So, as we explore these heartwarming journeys, you'll begin to see why the nursing home might not need to be your first destination and uncover the many exciting possibilities waiting ahead. Trust me, these life lessons are not to be missed. They may just inspire you to rethink what aging can really look like. Story 1. The Independent Grandpa. Let me introduce you to Grandpa Sam, an 85-year-old with a spirit that refuses to slow down. His heart is full of energy and his mind is set on one thing: maintaining his independence. For as long as his family can remember, Sam has been a vibrant, active man. He's the first one awake at sunrise, stepping out for his morning walks, taking care of his beloved garden, and savoring quiet afternoons with a good book in hand. His life has been a beautiful blend of simple pleasures and routines, things he holds dear. But as the years passed, Sam's family began to grow concerned. His health had started to decline, and they suggested he move into a nursing home to receive the round-the-clock care they felt he needed. However, Grandpa Sam wasn't ready to give up his life. He acknowledged his health challenges, but the thought of leaving his home, his familiar neighborhood walks, and the friendly faces he greeted at the local coffee shop was simply out of the question. Despite his family's well-meaning concerns, Sam made it clear he wanted to stay exactly where he was, surrounded by what mattered most to him. Grandpa Sam's decision wasn't about stubbornness, it was about the belief that with a little extra help, he could continue living life on his own terms. Whether it meant occasional visits from a home care worker or regular check-ins from his family, Sam was determined to maintain the independence that had defined his life. His story serves as a powerful reminder that independence is a force that should never be underestimated, no matter your age. Aging may present challenges, but it doesn't mean you have to forfeit your sense of self or your autonomy. All it takes sometimes is a bit of support from loved ones, friends, or even a tight-knit community to continue living in the way that brings you the most joy. Grandpa Sam may have needed some extra assistance, but his story proves that with the right help, independence remains within reach. It's a beautiful lesson that there's no need to rush into a nursing home just because of your age. If you're willing to think outside the box, there are always alternative options that allow you to stay true to your own needs and maintain the life you cherish. Story 2. The Surprising Move of a Retired Teacher. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Bennett, a retired teacher in her 70s who spent decades shaping young minds in the classroom. After a fulfilling career, when the time came to consider her future, she didn't want to follow the conventional path many of her peers had taken. While most people her age might have considered a nursing home, Mrs. Bennett made a courageous choice. She moved to a small, vibrant community of retirees, a place that completely surprised her. It wasn't what she expected at all, and at first her family was concerned. They couldn't understand why she would leave the comfort of her familiar neighborhood for an entirely new setting. They feared she was making a mistake, unsure of what this new chapter would look like for her. But just a few months after settling in, Mrs. Bennett's decision turned out to be one of the most rewarding ones she'd ever made. Not only did she find a group of like-minded individuals who shared her interests, but she quickly became an active, integral part of her new community. She rediscovered her love for knitting, something she had always been passionate about but never had time for while working full-time. In no time, she started teaching knitting classes to her fellow residents. The sense of purpose she found in sharing her knowledge and skills with others brought a renewed energy to her life. Mrs. Bennet was no longer just getting by, she was thriving. She had found a new calling and a fresh sense of connection, both of which reinvigorated her days. Her story offers an invaluable lesson. Finding new communities can inject fresh energy and purpose into your life, even later in life. As we age, it can be tempting to retreat or withdraw, but Mrs. Bennet demonstrates that surrounding yourself with people who truly understand your needs, share your passions, and encourage your growth can open up opportunities for fulfillment. Rather than isolating yourself or defaulting to the common choice of a nursing home, look for places where you can actively engage, contribute, and create lasting relationships. It's never too late to discover a community that brings joy, support, and meaning into your life. Mrs. Bennet found hers, and her journey is a shining example that the best years of your life could still be waiting ahead. Story 3. The Adventurer in His 90s. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Anderson, a 92-year-old whose energy and zest for life are far from fading. While most people his age might be content with a quiet, predictable life at home, Mr. Anderson had different plans. He decided that his golden years would be filled with adventure, traveling the world with his daughter by his side. Whether it was strolling the charming streets of Paris, hiking through the serene Italian countryside, or exploring the ancient ruins of Greece, Mr. Anderson seized every opportunity to discover new places and embrace new experiences. What makes Mr. Anderson's journey even more inspiring is the way he chose to travel. Rather than opting for luxurious cruises or guided tours, he sought a more authentic way of exploring the world. He stayed in small, cozy apartments and local hotels, immersing himself fully in the cultures he encountered. He wasn't just ticking destinations off a bucket list, he was living out the adventures he had dreamed of but never had time for when he was younger. Now, at 92, he was fulfilling those dreams, proving that age is no obstacle to living life to the fullest. Mr. Anderson's story is a powerful reminder. Age is truly just a number. Growing older doesn't mean you have to give up on adventure or stop seeking new experiences. In fact, many people find that their later years offer the freedom and flexibility to travel and explore in ways they couldn't have imagined before. Mr. Anderson shows us that it's never too late to seek out excitement, challenge yourself, and make unforgettable memories. Whether you're 92 or 32, there's always room for more adventures, if you're brave enough to take that first step. His life is proof that the best chapters can come at any age, and the world is full of possibilities waiting to be explored. Story 4. The Tech-Savvy Grandma. Let me introduce you to Grandma Alice, an inspiring woman in her 80s who refused to let age dictate her independence. Though she was no longer able to care for herself fully, she had no intention of moving into a nursing home. Instead, Grandma Alice decided to embrace technology in a way that many people her age might find daunting. She understood that if she was going to stay in her home and maintain her independence, she'd have to adapt, and that's exactly what she did. With a little help from her grandchildren, Grandma Alice learned how to use smartphones, tablets, and even smart home devices to make her life easier and more manageable. She set up a voice-controlled system that allowed her to adjust the lights, lock the doors, and control the thermostat, all with a simple command. When she needed help, she could effortlessly call family members or doctors with the touch of a button, ensuring that assistance was always just a few clicks away. But what truly transformed her life was how technology helped her stay connected with her loved ones. Grandma Alice used video calls to chat with her family, watch her great-grandchildren grow up virtually, and even participate in family game nights from the comfort of her living room. Grandma Alice's story teaches us an important lesson. Technology can be incredibly empowering. Rather than letting age limit her independence, she utilized the tools at her disposal to take control of her life and keep her relationships strong. She showed us that no matter how old you are, technology can serve as a bridge to the world around you, allowing you to stay engaged, active, and independent. So don't be afraid to embrace technology. It could be the key to living on your own terms, no matter your age. Grandma Alice's example is a powerful reminder that with a little creativity and the right tools, it's possible to live life on your own terms and stay connected to the people and experiences that matter most. Story 5. The gardener who never stopped growing. Let's talk about Mr. Evans, a passionate gardener who, at 79, was facing a reality that many of us fear. His body was no longer able to keep up with the demands of his once sprawling garden. For years, he had cultivated a vast space filled with beautiful flowers, vegetables, and trees, and it was his pride and joy. But as time passed, the physical labor of maintaining such a large garden became too much for him to handle, and his family began to worry that he might have to give up his beloved hobby altogether. They assumed that with his health declining, he would no longer be able to nurture the garden that had meant so much to him. But Mr. Evans had other plans. Instead of abandoning gardening altogether, he decided to downsize. He transformed his large, sprawling garden into a smaller, more manageable space, focusing on plants that were easier to care for and better suited to his current abilities. The new garden was no less beautiful, just more sustainable. With fewer plants to tend to, he found a sense of peace and fulfillment in the simplicity of his work. His smaller garden continued to bring him immense joy and a sense of accomplishment, proving that he could still enjoy his passion without pushing himself beyond his limits. When his family saw how much he thrived with this new approach, they were amazed by his resilience and creativity. Mr. Evans' story serves as a powerful reminder. Simplicity can be just as fulfilling as complexity. Aging doesn't mean giving up on what you love, it's about adapting and finding new ways to enjoy the things that bring you joy. Whether it's gardening, painting, or any other hobby, it's possible to continue pursuing your passions without overexerting yourself. By embracing a simpler, more manageable version of his garden, Mr. Evans discovered that sometimes less really is more. Aging doesn't mean surrendering your joys, it just means adjusting and finding ways to adapt to the new chapter of life you're in. Story 6. The Family Legacy. Now, let me tell you about Edith, an 84-year-old woman who made a decision many people might find surprising. She chose to stay in the house where she had lived for over 50 years. This wasn't just any house, it was the home where she had raised her children, hosted countless family gatherings, and built a lifetime of cherished memories. Despite her age and the challenges that came with it, Edith couldn't imagine leaving the place that had been the heart of her family for so long. While her children suggested a nursing home, Edith wasn't ready to say goodbye to the familiar comfort and deep emotional ties to her home. Instead of making the move to a nursing home, Edith found a way to make it work. She arranged for family members to check on her regularly, ensuring she had the support she needed without having to leave the place she loved. Whether it was a weekly visit from her daughter or her grandchildren stopping by after school, Edith was able to maintain the meaningful connections that had always been a part of her life. The walls of her home were filled with generations of memories, offering a sense of security, comfort, and continuity that no nursing home could replicate. Edith's story teaches us an important lesson. Home is where the heart is. As we age, the best place for us might not always be somewhere new or unfamiliar, but exactly where we've spent our lives, surrounded by the memories, objects, and comforts that have always made us feel safe and loved. Aging doesn't always mean needing to leave the place where your life story has unfolded. For Edith, staying in her home wasn't just a decision, it was a way to preserve her family's legacy, maintain the sense of belonging that had always existed, and continue to find peace in the familiar. It's a beautiful reminder that the right place for you in your later years might just be the place that has been home all along. As we reflect on these incredible stories, we're reminded that aging doesn't mean giving up on the things that matter most. Whether it's maintaining independence, embracing new opportunities, or simply staying where your heart feels at home, there are countless ways to continue living life on your own terms. So remember, no matter your age, it's never too late to find purpose, joy, and fulfillment. Keep exploring, keep growing, and never underestimate the power of your own choices. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next video.